It was a question of this hat or my coonskin hat.
Not quite hunting season, so.
It is somewhere.
Okay, all right, we are live. At this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'd like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is held electronically under Bylaw 2020-70 to amend Procedural Bylaw 2018-117 pursuant to Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. This morning, we will forgo the playing of the national anthem due to the limits in our municipality's technology. It was not something that were able to do. We'll move instead to the adoption of the agenda. There is an amendment of the agenda. The delegation, which was number 18 and was on your agenda for after the in-camera session, will be heard directly after the mayor's address.
Yeah, no one was there.
Sorry? Okay. So with that, the recommendation is that the regular council meeting agenda for September 15th, 2020 be approved as amended. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. All those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
None. None here.
Any. So there is no disclosure. All right. Good morning, everyone. On September 3rd, the Honorable Mary Lee Fullerton, Minister of Long-Term Care, came to Madawaska Valley to announce that Valley Manor will be receiving more than $4 million in upfront provincial funding to jumpstart their redevelopment project. On September 8th, the Ministry of Long-Term Care also announced final approval for more than $9.6 million in capital funding for the redevelopment and expansion of the emergency department at St. Francis Memorial Hospital. These funding announcements will secure the future of our community's healthcare hub. Congratulations go to everyone involved in both of these excellent projects, and my sincere thanks to Minister Yakabuski for his ongoing support and continued efforts on behalf of our community. It is now 6 months since the last regular council meeting was held in March. At that time, I asked our community to act together to stop the spread of COVID-19, to find creative ways to connect with and help each other, to follow the directions of public health, to be considerate and be well. Back then, we thought that flattening the curve of COVID-19 was going to be an intensive 100-meter dash to the finish line. We now know that flattening the curve was only the beginning. This is a marathon, and the finish line is nowhere in sight. Our success at limiting community spread relies on our dedication, adaptability, and endurance all the way to the end. It requires steady adherence to provincial orders and the rules of public health. Very recently, some groups and organizations in our community have not been following the provincial maximum of 100 people at outdoor events. This unfortunate action by a few increases the risk for us all. This is not the time to gather in very large groups, ignore physical distancing, or stop wearing a mask. If you are not concerned for yourself, then please consider the well-being of your family, friends, neighbors, vulnerable seniors, and those with compromised immune systems. From the beginning, the people of Madawaska Valley have risen to the challenge and worked hard to stop COVID-19 from getting into and harming this community. I am very proud of the effort, endurance, strength, and spirit of our community that our community has shown, and it continues to show throughout this difficult and challenging time. Let's continue to wash our hands regularly, maintain physical distancing, wear our masks, and limit our exposure to large groups. It's up to us to ensure that we all arrive at the COVID-19 finish line together. Thank you. All right, everyone. Our next item is delegations, and we do have a delegation this morning. I'm just digging in my page here. Here we go. Okay. It's Lucas. Now, I'm probably going to get your name wrong. Lucas Gris.
Gris.
Gris, thank you. President of the Opeongo Snowbirds Club, regarding council support for the Opeongo Snowbirds Club and trails. And Mr. Gris, is there any way you can turn on your video?
Yeah, I just want to let it be known I'm a welder and I'm at work right now, so.
That's fine. If you would prefer not to turn it on, that's also fine. Okay, great. Thank you. Please take it away, Mr. Gris.
So I'm not sure how aware everybody is, but September 3rd was the AGM for the Opeongo Snowbirds. And on that date, only 7 people showed up in person and 3 people on a Zoom call. I was one of those 3 people. And prior to that date, I had no involvement in the club, but I knew that the club was struggling. And the end result of that was the club was ready to be dissolved. And I stepped in. I got a few new volunteers going. I'm the president, I have a vice president and a treasurer. And we're looking for more local support from some of the community because we can't do it on our own. I'm from Toronto and I took the club on. So I need some more local support from people to keep this club alive because we have some of the best trails in Ontario. And we get constant applause for how good they are, but nobody locally seems to want to help us.
Okay.
For one example, I would like to put out there, Mark that owns the Mountain View, he relies on snowmobilers. Last year when there was the big ice storm, he shut down. He was in there for days clearing trail. That's dedication because he knows if he doesn't do that, he's not going to have any business. And that's not something I hear from a lot of people. A lot of people are quiet. As long as the trails are open and the snowmobiles keep coming, that's all they care about. So I'm hoping that that kind of example, and Sharon that owns Spectacle Lake Lodge, she sends her people out to clear trail and she pays them to do it because they're her employees. And same type deal there. If they don't go out there and clear the trails, they're not going to have any business coming in.
Okay, so what is it you're looking for from council?
Well, just to kind of get the word out there, I know Gwen was helping me get some information up online. The Valley Gazette's putting a story out for us. I just wanted everyone to be aware of what's going on and how critical it was that we got this club up and running again because it was almost completely gone. And then there would be no trails going through Barry's Bay.
Right, right.
And
okay.
That would be a huge economic impact on the town.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I know that Gwen has been helping you with starting to get that message out. Certainly council is aware of the situation in terms of the volunteer effort that goes into maintaining those trails and how important they are to our community. There's no doubt about it. We recognize that. We have been trying to do some work on the trails that the municipality owns, but it is fairly expensive. So we're working at it every year. We're trying to do a section. We're budgeting an amount of money to get some clearing done on our major trails. So we're working on that. It's you know, again, we have competing priorities, but that still is something that we are working on. Sorry.
Any help that we can get from you is very much appreciated. I mean, this is my first year doing this, so I'm trying to catch up. I'm playing catch up. I'm trying to figure out everything I need to get done. But the big thing is, honestly, our worst thing right now is the trail behind Camkeg there. It has severe washout and we need to get it graded. It is absolutely atrocious to ride through there. And I know a couple people that have recently swamped their ATVs just trying to ride right down the rail bed there because that's how bad the washout is.
Okay, maybe I could ask the operations manager to come on. Maybe he could speak to if there's any way we could offer some in-kind assistance with that area.
So, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. The washout is in between Camkeg and Airport Road. Lucas, sir, do you know?
I think it's in that section. I haven't been down there in a couple months, but I know that it's gotten a little bit worse, and I'm going to inspect it next time I'm there.
Okay, that's, I believe that's relatively easy repair. Mike, can we send a loader there and get some fill out of a bank, because we own 100 feet in that section. We had a good source of gravel along that, and I believe that's doable with council's permission. Mike, do you feel that's
Yep, I think it's actually more of a beaver damage than it is actually a washout. It seems to be that the beavers just build a dam there and the tracks by the bridge seem to flood out. The material's still there underneath. It's just the water levels get continually fluctuate up and down. So it's more, I think, of an issue of just getting the beavers trapped out of there and the dams cleared out.
So is that private property the beavers are on, Mike?
Depending on whether dams are built, sometimes it's right along the tracks and sometimes it is on private property, yes.
Okay. Maybe that's something we could investigate. If it's on our property, we could have those beavers removed, which would assist.
Absolutely. Yep.
And, you know, with the problem not recurring. And then the other thing is, council, you should be aware that the ATV club is also going to be coming to council at our next meeting. So they would have similar concerns with the trails as Mr. Grease is expressing to us. Perhaps if council concurs, we could ask Mr. Kuchkowski to work with Mr. Grease and with the ATV club to sort out that specific issue, to see if they can fix the trail in that location. And if there's anything we can do to deal with the beavers, should they not be on private property, then that also could be addressed. We do have someone who removes beavers for us. Does council have any concerns with that? Any comments? Councillor Poplinski, is your hand up? Yes, okay, Councillor Poplinski. And you need to turn on your microphone.
Is that a little better?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you. First of all, Mr. Gris, thank you so much for stepping up and trying to get the club going again. I can understand the challenges that you're facing being in Toronto. Obviously, you have a cottage, I believe, up here, and you take great interest in what's going on. I'm wondering, you know, there was a recent meeting, and I understand that there were only 7 volunteers showed up. You know, and from a council perspective, I don't like to hear about problems in the media. What we should be perhaps, you know, in our own, that's you sort of things falling in the cracks, and we find out about it after the fact. I'm wondering about the communication between council and in the club and other members in our community. Is that something that perhaps we should be working on? I take it that there was no one from council, or perhaps even our coordinator of community events and so on was not part of that meeting, or perhaps we would have heard about it before. But you know, it's almost like trying to close the you know, the barn door. Close the barn door after the horse is out, but it's never too late. I think that you know, this has been well identified in our financial plan going back 10 years about snowmobiling, ATVing, boating, canoeing, and it seems like that's sort of not being really considered. So I would encourage that we do whatever we can to make this club viable again. And I'm sure you're not the only club in the area that's having difficulty with volunteers. You know, volunteers get burnt out, and that's exactly what happens. But from the council perspective, I would like to be more informed about it as things move along. And I know we've been very good in the past when issues came up and we were able to make some money available, and Mr. Kuchkowski and Mike found ways of helping out. So let's get back on the right track. And thank you again for your involvement, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Any other members of council wish to comment or have any questions for Mr. Grease at this point? Councillor Bromwich.
I just want to say thanks a lot, Lucas, for what you've done. I just appreciate you stepping up here, and it's a grand gesture on your part. Thanks again, very much.
Mhm.
No problem. I'm trying my best.
Well, you know, obviously you love the snowmobiling and the trails in this area, and we do appreciate that you are stepping up. I'd like to see our staff work with Mr. Grease and with the ATV Club to sort out the immediate issue that he's identified. We do and have been working, I believe, on clearing some of our trails. Hillary, maybe could you speak to what's in store? I think it's done in the fall, the trail clearance for this year.
Yes, brushing was conducted last year from Wellno to Camkeg, I believe. Mike, what's your plan this year? You're working in a westerly direction. What's
Yeah,
on
so
the
last
radar?
year we were able to complete the section between Wilno and Camkeg. So this year we'll be starting out on the west end going towards Arbor Vita from Barry's Bay. And it's just, all depends on what kind of terrain it is, right? If it's swamps or brush, how much you can get accomplished, but it'll just come down to the hourly rate and how many hours we have to spend out there. So we'll be heading that way, and we'll see how far we get, hoping to get a good chunk of it done again this year.
Okay, so just be aware, Mr. Grease, that we are working on that specific trail to try to get the rail trail cleaned up and, you know, in a better condition. Is there anything else at this point? Could staff work on arranging that meeting and having that discussion? Mr. Kuchkowski.
Yeah, we might have, do we have your contact, Lucas, here? Like email or cell phone? We should keep you in the loop, but I haven't
Yeah, I
seen
think,
nothing.
Glenn has all my contact info. If not, I can send it over. That's not an issue at all, and we could stay in contact and go further from there. The biggest thing, though, is if we don't get the land use MOU signed, we're not going to have any trails at all. And from what I'm aware, that was sent a while back, and it was never sent back to us.
Was sent where? Was sent to the municipality?
Apparently, I just took the reins just over a week ago, so this is what I was told. I sent it over with all the information for today's meeting, so it's on there, and if I could get that back to me as soon as possible, that would be great.
Okay, so I think we've had some sort of communication issue because there's been mention of things being sent to the municipality that we haven't received. Now, someone's received them because they didn't bounce back, but maybe we better make certain that, you know, you have our communication contact information, and as that we have yours, which I do see Gwen has mentioned that, yes, we do. And I think we need to then move forward with dealing with the immediate issue that you've identified on the trail. Plus, it would be helpful, and understand we have very limited funds, but it would be helpful if you could work with the club to develop a plan for if there's something in kind that we could be doing for next year. Is there something specific that you would like to request? Because if you can come with a request, then we can work through that request. And we need to do that just at budget time. So we're talking by the end of this year, we'd like to know. I know that puts a lot of pressure on you, but it's better to be out in front with a request than coming to council after our budget is set. Then we're very limited in what we can do.
No, of course, and I understand that. If I knew this earlier, again, it would be a different story, but I'm just trying to play catch up here.
Totally, I get that. I wasn't expecting you to know. That's why I was letting you know that if you as a club, if you could come with what your request would be for assistance for next year before the end of this year, it would help us to then be able to consider it and see what we can accommodate in next year's budget.
But so have any of you received that MOU? I sent it over to Gwen with all of my information for today.
Yes,
Okay.
council has it, and it is something that we can discuss, and we haven't, I don't know if we've ever had one before. Sue, are you aware if we've ever had one with the club?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I didn't recall it ever coming to council, but you know, I can't remember everything.
One thing I did want to discuss was, I know last year it seemed to be an issue, but the groomer, it's outside all the time. We don't have a clubhouse, and it's out on the trail all the time, gets covered in snow and ice, and we really need to get a de-icing done on it minimum once a month so we can go over the machine, because if you don't do that, you can't see what's going on with it, and then it ends up being very costly repairs in the end game for us. And I know once upon a time it was dropped off at the yard to get de-iced in one of the bays, and recently that hasn't happened apparently.
Okay, Sue, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, I'll forward Lucas the last information that we had, communications with the Zone 6 district. There was an agreement and a proposed insurance agreement, and there was a particular clause that the club wouldn't sign off on. I'll send you the last correspondence I have with Mr. Vaudry, I think it was, from Zone 6, and that'll
Okay.
help you. We can talk about that one.
Okay, so if you could then work with him on that issue and see if there's a resolution to it. Councillor Poplinski, I'm not ignoring you. I just.
No, that's perfectly okay. I think these are all very good, valid points, and I think we need the discussion. My question is has the insurance situation been addressed? And if not, are we going to talk about that? Because I think that's certainly an impediment to the ongoing operation of the club, is it not?
What insurance issue are you regarding?
The liability insurance? There was mention of it in the report.
Okay,
That's something that I'll have to look into. That's not something I have gotten currently.
okay. So could Sue work with you and to sort out what the insurance issues are, if there are any, and see if there are any solutions to that? I
For
think
sure.
that's important. Okay, because I recognize that you're not up to speed on all the ins and outs of dealing with municipalities, and we're all somewhat different in what we can and can't do. Sue.
Just want to clarify, the insurance reference is to allow for the groomer to be in our facility.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, it wasn't a liability.
Okay, I'm assuming the club has their own insurance for club-related responsibilities.
Yeah,
Was-
I still have tons of mountains of paperwork and stuff to look through. My biggest thing was kind of balancing that and trying to find new recruits for this coming season, because if I didn't find that, then there was going to be no club anyway, and that was the major issue. Right now I have my executives, so that's a step in the right direction. We have a trail coordinator, a signage coordinator, so that's great. We got a few positions filled, but we still need more help and more volunteers. But now I'm going to be getting more on the paperwork side of things and reviewing everything that needs to be done.
Okay, no, that's fantastic. And council, are we in agreement that we'll assist with some of our municipal resources for advertising and letting the public know that there's a real need for volunteers for the Snowmobile Club? Anyone have any concerns with that? So Gwen is your best person to speak to. Councillor Schulist.
Yes, to you, Madam Mayor. Well, first of all, Mr. Grist, thank you very much for stepping up. I'm definitely in favor of creating a stronger partnership here. I know the municipality promotes economic development. Snowmobile is part of definitely part of that economic development. So whatever we can do, this first step of getting the word out there, and we need to stress the importance of keeping this industry definitely alive in our Madawaska Valley. So thank you very much, Mr. Grist. And you just let us know how we can help. And like I said, I always believe in a good partnership. Thank you very much.
No, for sure. And a partnership is something that I realize hasn't been done in the past, but I'm hoping, we have new blood, new people, fresh minds, and hopefully we can make this a well-oiled machine.
Okay, so I think we've got a number of steps that can be taken moving forward. The first one being staff to work with Mr. Grease and with the ATV club to fix the big issue on the trail that he's identified. The second being that our CAO will work with Mr. Grease to sort out the issues with insurance and see if there's some way that can be accommodated or brought to council, what the options are. And oh no, I had three and now I've lost. God love that. What was the third one? We just talked about it. I apologize. Oh, advertising, sorry. Oh. Yeah, I know it's only 10 and not quite 10:30 and apparently I haven't had enough coffee. And the third one is that our Gwen will work with Mr. Grease to promote the need for more volunteers for the club. And then the last thing will be that I think council, there's no immediate need today to sign the MOU. I'd like council to have an opportunity to read it, and if there's any concerns, then we can have that dialogue, and I would suggest that be brought to council and committee at the beginning of October, so we can get that done and signed at that point. Would anyone have any concerns with that?
No.
I'd like you to have an opportunity to have read it and ask staff if you have any concerns, and we can get those sorted out so everyone's comfortable with that. Are we good with that? Okay, have I covered everything that we can do now?
I think so, and I just wanted to kind of just send a reminder out to the snow clearing crew. They've been doing a good job from what I've been told so far, and not winging the snow off Stafford and Kelly Street. They've been keeping the crossings clean. They've been doing a late season snow dump in town to keep the sleds going through, and I just wanted to make sure that was still going to be going, because even late last season I was out in town and I couldn't believe how nice the trails were for how bad everything else was, because they were bringing in the snow and keeping everything good.
Okay, well, I would imagine that's something standard that our staff are doing as part of their maintenance process as they go through town. So no reason that should not be continued. Is there, Mr. Kuchkowski?
No, we will continue that to our best of our abilities.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, and that's good to hear.
Okay, fantastic. So please keep connecting with our staff, and we will work on this, and hopefully we can get some solutions in place before the actual snow flies, which the way the weather's going could be soon.
Well, and that's why I'm trying to get on top of things right now, because we're already going to start going and clearing trail and stuff and getting everything ready, because otherwise we're going to be behind.
Okay, well, fantastic. Thank you so much again for stepping up and taking on, shouldering a big job here. We know it's important to the community, and we really appreciate that you have done this and that you are refreshing the club with new blood, and that people are interested in doing this. Hopefully we can get you some more. Get some
All
more.
right, sounds great. And I look forward to having a better established and open-ended partnership.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thank you, Chris.
Councillor Wilmer, did you want to say something? No, just saying, okay, that would be the goodbye wave. Okay, thank you. So that concludes our delegation, and if staff could please ensure that council has a copy of the MOU, and council, if you could please get back to staff if you have any questions or concerns with that document, so that it can be brought forward to our next council and committee meeting. Okay, is that good? Anything further we need, Sue? Okay, fantastic. Thank you, everyone. So that concludes our delegation for today. And we'll move on to confirmation of the minutes. First, we have the special council meeting minutes of August 25th, 2020. There was one item that does need to be changed in these minutes, just so council is aware. Page 8 of your agenda. It says confirmation of the minutes at the very top. It says council and committee, and that needs to be changed to special council meeting, because the meeting referred to was a special council meeting. So where it says council and committee, that needs to be changed. That was the only thing I noticed. Did anyone notice anything else? Not seeing anything. Okay. So the recommendation would be that the special council meeting minutes of August 25th, 2020 be accepted as amended. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. So anything further on the minutes? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? And that's carried. All right, here we go. This is our first set of council and committee meeting minutes in a long while. These are the ones for September 1st, 2020. So we'll deal with the recommendation that's at the beginning of these minutes at the end, because it will be when we deal with the entire set of minutes. And I'd like to instead move forward with operations, roads and waste management. And I'll ask Chair Bromwich for his comments on the recommendations.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. We have 3 recommendations here, and as I think everybody's had a chance to go through it. We discussed this at the last council and committee meeting, and just wondering if I could get the CAO to read the recommendations for me, if that's possible.
Yep.
Thank you.
That council and committee recommend to council that unit number 20 international tandem truck and unit number 21 1995 single axle truck be deemed surplus to the needs of the township and direct staff to tender for the sale of these units. Second recommendation, that council and committee accept the off-road vehicle amendment report as information. Third recommendation, that council and committee recommends to council that requests be made to the county of Renfrew advising the municipality is seeking permission from the county of Renfrew to add parking along County Road 62 north side from Hargreaves Lane in an easterly direction.
Thank you. And I'll so move that. And I would like to ask if I could get a seconder for these 3 recommendations.
Okay, Councillor Bromwich, thank you
Sorry.
for moving. You're
Oh,
still
okay.
in my job.
Okay, you carry on. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chair, for moving. And it's been a while since we've done this. I get it. But
So
I,
confused.
it's fine. Could I get a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Now, does council wish to discuss any of these recommendations? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so then I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. And it's not fair, Councillor Bromwich, because you're the first chair that has to go through this this system now that we're back onto it. So it's fine. So our next part of the meeting is operations, water, wastewater, and facilities. And I'll ask Chair Schulist for his comments on the recommendation. Oh, Councillor Schulist, your mic is off.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
Madam Mayor, yeah, we had one thing on the agenda here. It was a report that was brought in from Aquanaut, and it had to do with the performance report. And I have no problem with it. I know everybody's gone through it, but I would like to make a motion to accept this as information. If you could read the motion, Madam CEO.
That council and committee accept the Ontario Clean Water Agency Performance Report second quarter 2020 as information.
Okay, I will move this.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So moved by Councillor Schulist, and could I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Does council wish to discuss this recommendation? Okay, I'm not seeing any desire to do so, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. All right, our next section of the report is fire and protection and emergency management, and I'll ask Chair Poplinski for his comments on the recommendation.
Thanks, Mayor Love. The fire and protection and emergency management recommendation is dealing with surplus items listed within, and there's no objection, fully support that initiative. It's material that we no longer require or is considered outdated, so I fully support the recommendation. And I would make the motion to accept it.
Okay, thank you. So that's moved by Councillor Poplinski. Could I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Does council wish to discuss this recommendation? Yeah, I'm not seeing any desire to do so, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Oh, did we read it? I forgot. Did we? Oh, I apologize. Suddenly dawned on me we hadn't. Okay, Sue, maybe I'll ask you to read the recommendation. I apologize. Me too. I'm
That's
getting
okay.
into
Through the
this way.
chair, that council and committee deemed the South Hall service van and the miscellaneous fire equipment, which includes 24 air bottles, 50 feet of 2.5-inch hose, 6 fire helmets, and 2 pairs of boots as surplus and direct staff to advertise the sale.
Okay, now I had the chair had moved it and the seconder was Counselor Wilmer. Now that you've heard the recommendation, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. See, we're all challenged by getting back into the swing of things. Our next section is Recreation and Community Development Committee, and I'll ask Chair Wilmer for his comments on the recommendations.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Love. We have 4 recommendations from the Recreation and Community Development Committee. I think they're all quite straightforward. 2 of them are with the Barris Bay Recreation Association and one from the Ottawa Valley Tourists. And then we also have the report that was for information on the skating season. They're quite straightforward, and so I have nothing further to say on them. Perhaps have the CAO read the recommendations.
Yes, through the chair, that the Barris Bay Recreation Committee executive meeting minutes for July 8th, 2020 be accepted as presented. Second one, that council and committee accept the Barris Bay Recreation Committee update report as information, and that staff allow the use of an area of the Bark Lake waste site and Cumbermere transfer station as a bottle can refund area within the gate if the operations manager deems this collection viable. Third recommendation, that council and committee accept the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association Images Partnership as information, and that staff proceed with this partnership opportunity with the OVTA to obtain downtown streetscape and community images. Fourth recommendation, that council and committee recommend to council to accept the PJYCC 2021 skating season report as information, and that based on 2018-19, 2019-2020 ice usage, staff proceed with the ice in date of October 17, 2020, conditional to adherence to any changes to provincial guidelines. And that staff ensure cleaning staff is scheduled during regular ice operating hours to comply with COVID cleaning recommendations. And that staff proceed with opening the dressing rooms on a trial basis until provincial guidelines change.
So would you so move that, Chair?
I will move that, yes.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Wilmer, and I need a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Schulist. Does council wish to discuss any of these recommendations? Okay, I'm not seeing any desire to discuss them, so I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our next section is Finance and Administration, and as chair, I don't have anything further to add to the recommendations, so I'm going to ask that the CAO read the recommendations.
That the first recommendation, that council in the committee and council recommends that council approve draft policy number SOP-GA01 for the use of gas tax funds. Second recommendation, that committee and council recommends the treasurer proceed with submitting the project report for the Main Street Revitalization Initiative. Third recommendation, that the Township of Madawaska Valley modify the normal hours of business General Administration Office Policy E01 to accommodate the 2020 Christmas and New Year's holidays by closing the offices on December 24th at noon, 2020, reopening on January 4th, 2021. And that the municipal office be permanently closed from December 24th at noon to January 1st annually. And that the Township of Madawaska Valley modify the normal hours of operation of the landfill and transfer station sites and curbside pickup services to accommodate the 2021 Christmas and New Year's holidays. Fourth recommendation, that committee and council recommends that council grants approval for the installation of 2 security cameras on the exterior of the municipal office building. Fifth recommendation, that council and committee recommends that council approve the CAO clerk recommendation to allow the office at 85 Bay Street to open at 9 a.m. on Mondays, effective Monday, September 21st, in lieu of 8 a.m. to allow for scheduled weekly staff meetings from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Sixth recommendation, that the Township of Madawaska Valley supports the town of Prescott in the city of Sault Ste. Marie's resolution regarding the closure of the Canada/US border.
Okay, thank you. As chair, I will so move that, and then I'll ask for a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Does council wish to discuss any of the recommendations? Okay, I'm not seeing any desire to discuss them. So with that, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay. So now we need to just go back to the beginning of the council and committee meeting minutes where we have some recommendations that were done outside of standing committee. And I would just note to council before I ask Sue to read those recommendations, I've spoken with staff because the whole preamble to every recommendation in the standing committees is getting cumbersome, and sometimes it's getting switched back and forth. It sometimes says committee and council, council and committee. It's making everything a lot more verbiage we don't need. So what I've suggested to staff, since I do identify in each council and committee meeting when we're entering the standing committee portion, I've suggested to staff that I would basically identify to the public at that point that any recommendations in standing committee are recommendations to council. So my suggestion is I would just state for the public's information prior to standing committee starting that all recommendations from the standing committees are recommendations to council and are pending the approval of council at a subsequent meeting. And that would simplify our minutes so that we were not having this lengthy preamble that council and committee recommend to council that, which sometimes is getting backwards and sometimes is getting forgotten. We could just go with the simple recommendations. And as council knows, when we are finished with standing committee, I identify that we are done with standing committee and we are entering the regular council meeting portion of the meeting. So adding those lines to our minutes would simplify our recommendations. And all the times you see in these minutes where council and committee got reversed to committee and council will be corrected. Gwen is going to do that, but we could stop doing this and make this a lot simpler. Does council have any concerns with that?
No.
Okay, so we would be good with simplification here, like one sentence versus many, many words. It would certainly help staff because it is, as we've seen coming back into this process, it immediately identifies where it can be more cumbersome than it really needs to be, as long as the public is aware of what we're doing. So I'm not seeing any concerns, Sue. I'd like to suggest that would be what we would continue from here on with. And that note to council that anywhere where it says committee and council, Gwen will fix the minutes to say council and committee for this set of minutes. But going forward, they'll be a lot simpler. Okay, I'm not seeing any concerns, any questions. Then with that, did you want to read the recommendations at the beginning of those minutes?
Yes, through the chair, that the council and committee meeting minutes of September 1st, 2020 be approved as presented with the following recommendation. That the committee and council recommend to council to accept the proposal for improvements to block 30 of the subdivision agreement registered plan 549, October 1989, to allow for a public walking path to Trout Lake. And that acceptance of the proposal is conditional to Mr. Snyder providing a certificate of insurance for the period of the works being performed in agreement between the operations manager and the developer, Mr. Snyder, the type of materials to be utilized for the stairs. And that the costs associated with the brushing and materials required for the walking path be borne by Mr. Snyder as initially proposed, and staff provide in-kind assistance. And that council approved the use of up to $2,000 from the drainage budget to be reallocated towards the construction and excavating cost of the drainage swale.
Okay, so those were the recommendations that flowed from our delegation. I will suggest to council that we would approve the minutes as amended because the committee and council will be changed to council and committee. I'd also like to suggest two other amendments to the minutes to clarify. One would be on page 16, where it says, council agreed that the municipality was willing to contribute to the project in kind and redirect some of the drainage budget to allow for the walking path to be built. I would like to suggest that it state, council agreed that the municipality could contribute $2,000 to the drainage alterations and in-kind assistance in order to allow for the walking path to be built. Does anyone have a concern with that? I think my impression of council's direction in the meeting was that the $2,000 was being given for drainage. It wasn't for the walking path, so that's why I'm asking for that clarification in the minutes. Anyone have a concern? Not seeing a concern with that. I'll get that clarification to Gwen. The other amendment is on page 28 of your package, and it's just simply changing. You'll see confirming bylaw refers to the confirming bylaw of the special council meeting of September 1st. This was the confirming bylaw of the council in committee meeting of September 1st. So we need to just correct that. And aren't we glad we're pretty much done with having so many special council meetings? Any concerns with that correction? Okay. So with that, do I need, I guess I need a mover and a seconder for these recommendations as amended. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor? And that's carried. And it's going to be simpler, but it's good that we've got through our first one now that we're back and following our normal process. Now your mayor just has to find where she is in her agenda. Okay, that completes council and committee meeting minutes. Let's move on to the special council meeting minutes of September 8th, 2020. The recommendation is that the special council meeting minutes for September 8th, 2020 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Is there any errors or omissions that council noted in these minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Right, we're done our minutes. Any business arising from the minutes? Sue.
Just wanted to inform council that I have received an insurance third-party liability certificate from Mr. Snyder as requested.
Great. Thank you. Anything further arising from the minutes? Not seeing anything. Okay, we'll move on to municipal reports. First, we have tender MV 2020-10, construction, demolition, and bulky waste processing. Mr. Kuchkowski, there he is. Did you want to speak to your report?
Yes. We had 3 tenders received for the construction demolition grinding at Bark Lake. And the pricing is in line with what's out there. There's a substantial amount due to the, I guess everybody's fixing everything up, which isn't a bad thing. So it has gone up somewhat, but it's within our, pretty close to our budget line. We have increased revenues substantially on that end. Bag tags and construction demolition with what's going on up there. So recommendation to accept lowest tender.
Okay, so I don't know, did you want to read the recommendation or does Sue want to read it?
I can read it if you want.
Sure.
That council recommend to approve lowest tender MV 220-10 construction demolition grinding by National Grinding in the amount of $27,007, HST included, subject to requirements of the contract, and that it be applied against account 1-12-17-704031 waste disposal C&D grinding.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any questions or discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. All right, next we have tender MV 2020-09, supply, delivery, and stacking winter sand. Hillary, did you want to speak to this report?
Yes, due, I guess, to the volume of work that's out there, we received 1 tender. Fortunately, it is in line with what the industry standards for pricing would indicate. So I did a comparison for you guys just to 219. It was $6.64 a ton. $227.84. So very good pricing. I'm impressed. I'm happy. It's within our line budget. We have 230, but don't forget there's a lot of salt that goes out of that.
Mhm.
So you want, I can read the recommendation.
Yes, please.
That council recommend to approve tender MV 220-10 supply, delivery and stacking winter sand by RGT Kluche Construction Limited in the amount of $106,310.40, HST included, subject to requirements of the contract, that it be applied against account 1-08-14-78-50-84, activity 185, sanding and salting.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any questions or discussion on the recommendation? I think everyone is good, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. Next we have ice resurfacer for the Paul J. Yakabuski Community Center. And I see, I don't know, I'm going to call her Ms. Plebin. Stephanie is with us.
Stephanie's coming.
Stephanie's coming. We can't see her yet, but we will see her. There we are. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
So did you want to speak to your report?
So I'll start at the beginning. Since COVID, we've been trying to get our ice resurfacer to the company that we use to get it serviced every so often. So it was just sent just this past 2 weeks ago. And I've been trying to get them to give me an overview rundown of what it is that needs to be done on it. And what we need to expect from it at this point. So it looks like the amount of work required for this machine has topped what I have within my budget for the year for the ice resurfacer. And when I say that, I mean the actual operating budget. The amount that I've been sent through the company right now is $13,000 worth of repairs required. And the repairs that's just a visual inspection. It seems to be that there could be more once they start diving into what is going on. So it looks like I need a decision on what it is we need to move forward with regards to the ice resurfacer. And I just needed council to be aware of what is being recommended at this point. And I've done a little bit of digging into some used models that would be new to us and from a couple different companies. So I just wanted council to be aware and help in making this decision where to move forward in this. So the report kind of speaks to the work that is required. The estimate that I've got for the used resurfacer right now is $20,000. And there were a couple newer models, again, a different brand than what we have right now. And so I'll just let council, if you have any questions, you can let me know. We did budget for an amount in capital reserves. I was hoping that that could be added to next year with the end goal of purchasing a new machine down the road. But the way that this one is, the result from being sent away today is quite a bit more in repair work than what we pictured. So does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, hi Stephanie. You mentioned in the report that staff had looked at this piece of machinery. Did we have our mechanic? Who exactly looked at it?
So we've had Alan looking at it, and there's a conversation that happened between Alan and Cliff, and it went forward to the company with the background of knowing what we thought was wrong with it. And a lot of the things that are on that list are things that we noted. given some of the things aren't things that we weren't sure needed to be replaced, so that could result in a further conversation, but unfortunately, I'm not a mechanic, so I'm just going by what the company is telling us.
If someone has looked at it, that's good. That's reassuring. The other thing is that the $20,000, does that include the modifications they've got to make to accommodate the blades that we have on the old one? Because
It
that could be a very costly situation, right?
I'm being told it will.
It will. Is there any additional funds to be added to that?
The
In order to-
$20,000?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
not that I'm aware of. As long as they can make the blades fit our machine, there shouldn't be any more additional cost to that. They
Right.
normally charge us for shipping shipping the ice resurfacer back and forth. So there may be a shipping charge added to that. But we didn't discuss that far ahead. That could be taken care of in our normal maintenance.
Yeah,
budget.
if I may, the length of the blades is very important because you have so much room to get in and out onto the ice surface, right? If my understanding is correct. And that the smaller blades, which we're currently using, need to be supplied or being able to accommodate on the new machine. I'm not against buying this other machine. I think that's probably the best way to go. But as long as we can, as they say, address those other issues. So that would be great. Thanks.
From what I've been told, the blades, just for your own background, the blade size on the back of the machine doesn't necessarily decide the size of the machine. So even if the blade was larger, so 84 is what the size of this other machine's blade is, the size of the actual machine itself is the same. The side of the blade, the conditioner that the blade goes into is just a slightly different model. So it is the same size of actual machine. It's the blade that the back that is a little different. So, but yes, you are right. We do have multiple blades. Over the years, we've purchased random additional blades. So having the stock that we have, it makes the most sense to make sure that our blades will fit in this new machine, not the other way around.
Thank you.
Okay, Stephanie, the blades that we have, do they fit the ice resurfacer that is at the Combermere Outdoor Rink?
They do.
Okay, so we do have an option to use them as spares or to replace blades there should we need to.
Correct.
How old is the $20,000 resurfacer? If we were like, how old is it? How much wear and tear does it have?
The one that we're looking at replacing it with?
Yes.
I've asked for the amount of hours and they're telling me between 5,000 and 6,000 hours. They tell me that generally in a season, generally at a service, the machines come in every 500 hours. So it is a 2008. I will be looking into that more just to confirm, but I feel like this is likely the best option that we have right now, far from going ahead and purchasing a brand new machine.
If we were to go ahead and purchase a new machine, they would provide us with a loaner until they could provide us with the new machine? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, they did say, and I asked them how far out they are on new machines, and they're a year out. So if we decided today we wanted a new machine, we wouldn't get it until next season, but they would absolutely provide us a loaner.
Okay, Councillor Wilmer.
Thank you. Yeah, I did ask yesterday about the costs of a new machine. A new machine, I guess, from the company we're dealing with is about $83,000. So we're quite a long way from reaching that point. In looking at it, I really think of the three options, which is a new machine, purchasing this used one, or putting money into our old machine, which I really think is a waste of money. I think it's a 1999 machine, and it's probably pretty much at the end of its life. I think the 2008, and just looking at some of the figures on it, it's also from a large municipality, Guelph, and it probably was well maintained. So I really think that that is our best option moving forward. I did talk to Stephanie about the blade size yesterday, and we seem to think that it will fit. So when I look at it, to me, that is the best option.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I agree with Councillor Wilmer here on that one, but they would give us some breathing room as far as a new purchase goes down the road, because we're going to be eventually looking at buying a new machine. This would allow us to probably budget so much per year, so that in 8 years' time, we'd have enough money, say 10,000 a year into a budget. And in 10 years' time, we might have enough to buy a brand new machine, and we wouldn't have to go through this, used portion. So I think this would be a good move, as long as we consider possibly putting money aside each year for and anticipating a new machine. Just thought I'd bring that up in case it's nice to take care of the business right now and not worry about it for another couple of years, but eventually we're going to have to replace that machine. So it might give us breathing room to replace it. I just thought I'd mention that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Stephanie, is there any sort of warranty with this $20,000 used machine?
They said they would provide a year warranty.
Okay. Any other questions from council on this?
No.
Not seeing anyone, so I'm getting the sense that, I don't know, Sue, if you are too, that council would like to purchase the used machine for $20,000. Now, just let me clarify, Stephanie, does that include the change to the smaller blades? Or do we still need
Yes.
to pay for that? That includes it. Okay, so it would work with our blades. Everything would be good.
Mhm.
And can they deliver it before October 17th?
Yeah, I believe so. They said they would. If they cannot, they will provide a loaner, but yes.
All right. All right, great, fantastic. So I guess then, Sue, did you, or Stephanie, do you want to read the recommendation with that in it?
I can read it through the chair.
Okay, thank you.
That council accept the ice resurfacer at PJYCC report as information, and that council direct staff to purchase a used ice resurfacer for the PJYCC for use in the 2020-2021 ice season from Resurface Corporation at a cost of approximately $20,000, and that the purchase be expensed against the capital reserve as budgeted for the PJYCC ice resurfacer.
Okay, now you've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? I'm going to ask one more question, and it's about the old one. Then, Stephanie, are we able to use it for spare parts for our other ice resurfacer, or are we able to sell it? Will the individuals who we're getting the used one from, have they any interest in buying our trade-in? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, the last conversation I had was he actually did say you can have it back. But here's my problem. If we take it back, it goes back to the age-old issue that we have with storage. I have nowhere to keep it. It very easily could be something that we could keep and use on like the outdoor rink possibly. Or for parts, I shouldn't say on the outdoor rink because it would have to be fixed. But for parts, there were some new parts that we put into it, and we will ask for some of those parts back. To be honest with you, I wish we had somewhere we could store that piece of equipment. And going forward, I also need somewhere to store our new Kubota, as well as a side-by-side that we have. So I need to look at storage for the arena, community center, recreation, not recreation, mostly, I guess, the parks equipment related to that going forward.
Okay. All right, so any comments from council on that? Just, it was a thought that popped into my mind as we were in the process of the resolution. So is there anything further on the resolution? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so you really don't have a direction though on what to do with the old one. I guess it's a question of looking at storage to see if we have the storage for it.
Mhm. Yeah.
That'll have
It
to
will
be
be.
discussion, obviously with the operations manager to see if he has somewhere it could be put.
Yeah, we will.
Do you need any further direction at this point, Stephanie?
I don't believe so. No,
Okay.
Hillary and I will speak.
Okay, all right. So if you have the opportunity to store the old machine, then obviously that's your best plan because it's there and available. Any other concerns from council on this? Okay, good. Thank you, Stephanie. Where am I at? Okay, we're at our next section is bylaws. I've lost Sue. There's Sue. Okay. In bylaws, we have bylaw 2020-80 regarding amendment to bylaw number 2014-90, addition of policy number SOP-GA-01, gas tax, use of funds, standard operating procedures, SOP. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-80 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2014-90 with respect to the addition of policy number SOP-GA-01, gas tax, use of funds, standard operating procedures, SOP, to the corporate policies and procedures for the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley be given first and second reading this 15th day of September 2020. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on this bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-80 be given third and final reading this 15th day of September 2020. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Next, we have bylaw 2020-81. Before I introduce it, Sue, was there an opportunity to make those changes to the policy that I talked to you about in terms of the positions?
Yes, I did check with the treasurer, and there was, I guess the amended version wasn't attached in error. I'll have to double check with Gwen. Do you know if that was forwarded to council?
I received a copy, but I don't know if the rest of council received it at the same time.
I don't think so. So we will have to go over the amendments. So what I'll do is I'll get a motion and then we'll just go over those changes. They're minor. Okay. So bylaw 2020-81 regarding amendment to bylaw number 2014-90, amendment of policy E-01. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-81 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2014-90 with respect to the amendment of policy number E-01, hours of work and overtime to the corporate policies and procedures for the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley be given first and second reading this 15th day of September 2020. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. And I guess the recommendation, gentlemen, if you concur, would be as amended, and now we'll explain the amendment. So you're good with it being as amended? Okay. Sue, could you just go over the change? It's, if you look at page 51 of your agenda, it's the job classes.
Yes, if I may. So it was just to clarify, so the treasurer deputy clerk position is treasurer. The chief building official and chief fire official will be placed individually, one under the other. Sorry, I don't have the amendment in front of me.
Yeah, those were the items.
Those were the only two, I believe.
Yes, it's just to update the policy to reflect our current organizational structure. While we're updating it, we might as well update that as well.
That's right.
Does anyone on council have any concerns with those amendments? I'm not seeing any concerns with that. Other than that, the actual change to the policy renamed the position for manager of planning, development, and licensing from the earlier designation, and included council's approval of the closure of the office from December 24th through to January 1st, opening on the next business day. Those were the, I believe, the two amendments that were made to the policy. Okay. So any discussion from council on that? Okay, I'm not seeing any. With that, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-81 be given third and final reading this 15th day of September 2020. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, here we are. All right, so we have a correspondence action item. I'm just trying to find here, bear with me. Wrong page. Oh, here we are. Okay. We have a resolution from the Municipality of Tweed regarding Cannabis Act SC 2018, Chapter 16 legislation. The Municipality of Tweed is calling for immediate action by all levels of government for medical cannabis licensing to follow similar regulations and guidelines as all other pharmaceutical industries, and then Health Canada withhold licensing until the potential license holder can provide evidence of acceptable zoning of a property intended for medical cannabis production. This is something that actually we came back from the Roma conference. It was one of the sessions that I hosted for Roma, and I know Councillor Poplinski was there. And we did at that time, which was pre-COVID, mention there was a need to implement an inhibiting bylaw for cannabis production in Madawaska Valley until our comprehensive zoning bylaw is updated and can include parameters that the municipality would want on the zoning for where cannabis production can occur in the municipality. I know a lot of municipalities are struggling with this issue, and it was something that I believe Councillor Poplinski did bring back and mention, but it hasn't actually been discussed. I believe, I looked back, couldn't find any reference to it in minutes, so it hasn't, I don't think, been discussed in an actual council meeting. First off, to deal with this resolution, would council like to support this resolution? Would someone like to move that we support it? Councillor Poplinski, are you moving that we support it?
Yes, Mayor Love, I would be inclined, I want to do that. I think it's something that's going to get the ball rolling and it'll enable us to have a little more understanding as moving forward with this, because everything was so new and things were being unveiled and problems were coming up and many solutions were still being contemplated. So I think that this is a step in the right direction. And I think we need to have further discussion on it, how it applies in our area here.
Okay, great. So moved by Councillor Poplinski. Do I have a seconder to support the resolution? Seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on supporting the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Council, would you, are you interested in staff investigating what an inhibiting bylaw for cannabis production would look like? And this would be a bylaw that basically puts a thumb in the dike and says you can't move forward until we've dealt with our comprehensive zoning bylaw and we have our rules in place. That was my understanding from the session that I was hosting. And I think that might be something we want to do to ensure that we don't have cannabis production facilities springing up beside residential areas or in places that are just not going to be compatible to other zoning in our community. Do we have a concern, or would we like to see staff investigate an inhibiting bylaw?
Absolutely.
Okay, Councillor Poplinski, I'm seeing nods and thumbs up. Sue, could you please do some research into that and maybe bring us back some information at the next council and committee meeting, if possible?
Yes, I've listed it as an action item.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next is new business. Is there any new business? Not seeing any unfinished business. Okay, I think we've dealt with all that. Then our final item here is an in-camera session. that the meeting enter in camera session to discuss matters pertaining to the security of the property of the municipality or local board, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Chapter 25, Section 239, 2A, B, and F. Number 1 is the special council meeting minutes in camera of August 25th, 2020. Number 2, special council meeting minutes in camera September 8th, 2020. Number 3, Wishart Law Firm update regarding court file number CV-19-00082269-0000. And number 4, Templeman LLP regarding wastewater plant update of the court file. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. All those in favor? And that's carried. Where are we for time? We're still good for time. So Gwen, if you